Good afternoon, students. Hope you all are fine at your places. Before going to our discussion, let us start with some examples. Here we can see here that hydrochloroquine has been sent from India to US. And another example we can see here is first consignment of 5 million HCQ tablets from India reaches Canada. And third example, we can see that Durgapur Steel Plant sends consignment of wheels to Kolkata Metro today. And the next slide shows that the railway people, they want to consign the e-commerce consignment during their non-peak hours. So we can find a common term in all these examples. Yes, that is consignment. So by layman terms, we can understand that consignment is sending goods from one place to another place. With this backdrop, let us start with our session, and by the end of the session, we will be able to understand what is consignment, what are the differences between consignment and sale, what are the important terms in consignment, what is the sequence of transactions in consignment and accounts maintained, and what is the accounting treatment. First, let us understand what is consign. Consign is to send. We have understood from our examples, right, that sending goods from one place to another place. That is, it also means that giving over charge or giving over custody. From the word consign, the noun form of consign is consignment. So consignment is nothing but sending goods from one place to another place or from one person to another person. The thing that we have to remember here is the ownership is not transferred here in case of consignment. Here we can see some examples. These are the products that are frequently consigned, like sports material, footwear, musical instruments, baby toys. Like that, most of these products are consigned because the customer base is spread all over, and for that reason, in order to reach all the customers, consignment is a good option for the business person. Here, let us see, in consignment, we have two parties. They are consignor. In consignment, we have two parties, principal and an agent, and the goods are sent from principal to agent. The person who sends the goods is called as consignor, and the person who receives the goods is called as consignee. And let us understand, before going to consignment, let us understand what are the differences between consignment and sale. Sale is the term which we regularly hear in day-to-day life. So we will understand what are the differences between consignment and sale. First, let us see what is the meaning. If we find out the differences between consignment and sale, the first difference is meaning. Here there are two things, that are goods, and next one is ownership. Next we have goods and ownership. In case of consignment, the goods are transferred, whereas the ownership is not transferred. Whereas in case of sale, goods are transferred and ownership is also transferred. And the second difference is parties. In the case of consignment, the parties are called as consignor and consignee. In case of consignment, the parties are called as consignor and consignee, whereas in case of sale, we call the parties as buyer and seller. In case of consignment, we call the parties as consignor and consignee, whereas in case of sale, we call the parties as buyer and seller. And the next point of difference is relationship. So the relationship between consignor and consignee is that of a principal and agent relationship. The relationship between buyer and consignor and consignee will be the relationship between a principal and an agent, whereas in case of sale, the relationship between buyer and seller will be that of a debtor and creditor. The relationship will be debtor and creditor. And the next point of difference here is expenses and risk. Whenever and all the times, expenses and risk will be borne by the real owner. In case of consignment, the real owner will be the consignor. So the risk and expenses will be borne by the consignor, whereas in case of sale, after the sale the ownership is transferred to the buyer, so the risk is borne by the buyer. So the risk and expenses are to be taken care of the buyer after the sale, whereas in case of consignment, the risk and expenses will be borne by the consignor. And the next point of difference here is consideration. Consideration means something in return. Here we have two parties, consignor and consignee. So what is the consideration for consignor? Consignor will get profits, whereas consignee will be getting commission. Consignor will be getting profits and consignee will be getting commission. Whereas in case of sale, there are buyer and seller. Buyer will be getting goods and seller will be getting profits. This is the consideration received. Consideration means something in return. In case of consignment, consignor will get profits and consignee will be getting commission. In case of sale, buyer will be getting the goods and seller will be getting the profits. And the next difference is return of goods. Return of goods is, in case of consignment, consignee can return the goods if they are not sold. But in case of sale, the buyer cannot return the goods because the ownership is already transferred. Whereas in case of consignment, as the ownership is not transferred, the consignee has all the rights to return back the goods if they are not sold. So these are the differences between consignment and sale. Hope you all understand, students. Let us move for the next point. So before going into details of all the concepts, we need to understand these points in detail. So first in that, we will try to understand what is cost price and invoice price. Cost price is the actual price paid for the product. Cost price is the actual price paid for the product, whereas invoice price is the price that is paid over and above cost price. For suppose if 1000 kgs of rice are sent by X to Y. If 1000 kgs of rice are sent by X to Y at the rate of say 70 rupees. Okay, but this is called as cost price. When the consignor sends goods to consignee at the rate of 70 rupees, this 70 rupees is called as cost price. But sometimes the consignor will think that why should I reveal the actual profit to the consignee? He will know when he is selling at, I am sending the goods at 70 rupees and he know what are the expenses that he is meeting. So he will know my correct profit. So what I will do is, instead of sending the goods at the actual cost price, sometimes I will also send goods at a higher price than the cost price. Such higher price is called as invoice price. So here we came to know about two terms, that is cost price and the invoice price. Cost price is the price that is actual price of the project. Invoice price is the price which is over and above the cost price. We are adding some additional amount to the cost price to arrive at the invoice price. This additional price is called as loading. The additional price that we have added is called as loading, and loading will affect two transactions. What are they? While loading will have influence on goods sent on consignment, and it will also have influence on consignment stock. The effect of this increasing price by the consignor will have effect on only two things. What are they? On the goods sent on consignment and consignment stock. We will understand what are these terms in detail in the coming slides. So here we understand that there are two types of prices, cost price and invoice price. Cost price is the price which is the actual price of the product, whereas the invoice price is the price over and above the cost price. So let us understand the next term, that is pro forma invoice. In the pro forma invoice, it is clear that there are four things that are very important to be incorporated in pro forma invoice. What are the four things? First one is name of the consignor. Consignor name is important. Who is sending the goods is important, and date is also important. And what date the consignment is being sent, that is also important. And third, name and details of the consignee. Name and details of the consignee are also important. And what are the goods that consignor is sending to the consignee? These four things are very important. That is details of the goods. So what does the proforma invoice include? Proforma invoice includes four things. What are they? Name of the consignor who is sending the goods, date on which the goods are sent by the consignor to the consignee, and name and the details of the consignee, and also details of the goods. These are the things that are incorporated in the proforma invoice. Proforma invoice is a statement that is sent by the consignor to the consignee. What is the purpose of this proforma invoice? The purpose is to make the consignee know what are the goods that are sent by the consignor. That is the main purpose of the proforma invoice. So we understood that proforma invoice is a statement that is sent by consignor to consignee, and it needs four things to be incorporated in it. They are consignor name, date, details of the consignee, and the details of the goods. The next important document in consignment is account sales. What is this account sales? As we understood, proforma invoice is a document sent by consignor to consignee, whereas the account sales is a document that is sent by consignee to the consignor. What details it will include? Means it includes the details of sale proceeds. What are the sales made by the consignee, and what are the expenses and other things like commission and bad debts that are taken by the consignee, and also amount payable to the consignor. So the goods are sent by the consignor to the consignee. After receiving the goods, consignee will sell the goods. After selling, he will be getting some amount. That is called as sale proceeds. From the sale proceeds, he will deduct the expenses made by him, the commission that he has to take, and the amount payable to the consignor will be derived at the end of the statement. So after that, next concept is expenses of consignee. Expenses of consignee includes non-recurring expenses and recurring expenses. What are non-recurring expenses? The expenses which do not occur again and again are called as non-recurring expenses, whereas the expenses occur again and again are called as recurring expenses. In general, till the goods reach the godown of the consignee, whatever the expenses are met by the consignee or the consignor, all the expenses will be considered as non-recurring. They are one-time expenses, whereas after reaching the godown of the consignee, whatever the expenses that are met, they come under recurring expenses. Here we understood the expenses can be categorized into two: recurring expenses and non-recurring expenses. Recurring expenses occur again and again. Non-recurring expenses occur only one time. So these are the various expenses that I have mentioned in the slide. And the next concept that we need to understand is commission. Commission here can be categorized into three types. What are they? First one is ordinary commission, second one is deliquidary commission, and third one is overriding commission. First one is ordinary commission, second one is deliquidary commission, and third one is overriding commission. We'll take an example. Previous example will continue. We have taken that X has consigned goods to Y. X has consigned 1000 kgs of rice to Y at the invoice price of 80 rupees. Clear? And the cost price of which will be 70 rupees. The cost price of which is 70 rupees, but they have invoiced it, the consignor has invoiced that at the rate of 80 rupees. Here, if the consignee has sold 850 goods, 850 kgs of rice were sold by the consignee at the rate of say 100 rupees. Okay, consignee could sell 850 kgs of rice at the rate of 100 rupees. So what is the total amount of sale here? 85,000. So this is the value of the total sales. When commission is calculated on such value, then it is called as ordinary commission. The commission calculated on the total sales is called as ordinary commission. And here in this total sales, you may have two types of sales. What are they? You may have cash sales and also credit sales. What are cash sales? The party who have purchased the goods from the consignee, he has paid the amount. So no problem. But in the second case, in credit sales, what happens? The other party who has purchased, he did not pay the amount immediately, but he will pay at a future date. Whereas if the credit sales amount is not realized, who will be the loser? Who has to bear the loss? The loss need to be borne by the consignor. The goods are sold by consignee, but the loss has to be borne by the consignor. So what the consignor will do? Instead of taking unnecessary risk, he will say consignee that, okay, I will pay you additional amount of commission. You only take care of the risk that is arising out of credit sales. So that type of risk that is taken by the consignee for the credit sales. For such type of risk, consignee will be paid an extra commission. That extra commission paid for the purpose of credit sales, to bear the risk arising out of credit sales, is called as dell'credere commission. This is called as dell'credere commission. Why dell'credere commission is born? It is dell'credere commission is the commission paid by the consignor to the consignee for taking the risk on the credit sales. Now, if any credit sales are made and the amount is not received by the consignee, that risk is to be borne by the consignee himself, and it will not be taken care by the consignor. For purpose of taking that risk, the additional commission or extra commission is paid. That commission is called as dell'credere commission. If commission is paid on total sales, then it is called ordinary commission. If commission is paid on the credit sales, then it is called as the dell'credere commission. And the third one here is overriding commission. What is this overriding commission? See here the goods are consigned at the cost price of the goods is 70 rupees, whereas the consignor has sent consignee saying that the goods is 80 rupees and he has sold at 100 rupees. So the profit he had, because he has increased the price, he has earned more profit here, 10 rupees more profit he has earned. So whatever the price, sometimes what the consignor will do is that, because he is to motivate the consignee to sell at a higher price, what he will do is, if you sell more than 80 rupees, I will give you an extra commission. That extra commission will be paid if you sell over and above the invoice price. Such commission is called as overriding commission. The purpose of overriding commission is to encourage the consignee to sell at a higher price, so that both the parties will be benefited. What is the benefit to the consignor? He will be getting more profits. What is the benefit to the consignee? He is receiving more commission. That is the benefit. So, I think you all are clear with the concept of commission. Commission can be categorized into three: ordinary commission, dell'credere commission and overriding commission. Ordinary commission is the commission that is paid on total sales, whereas dell'credere commission is paid on credit sales. And coming to overriding commission, it is the commission paid on the price over and above invoice price other than this normal ordinary commission. That is called as overriding commission. Let us go to the next slide, which helps you to understand what is consignment stock. So, consignment stock is the stock that is left out after selling the goods. Let us continue with the same example. If we have consignor has consigned 1000 kgs of rice to consignee. Let us say that 5 units are lost due to spillage and etc. So here 5 kgs were lost in spillage. While loading and unloading, some loss has occurred. So that is 5 kgs. So totally how many kgs are left out? 995 kgs are left out. And from that, while transportation, say 45 goods are lost in transit. They are lost in transit due to the negligence. Then how many goods reached the consignee? Consignee received only 950 goods. 950 kgs of rice is received by the consignee. After receiving 950 kgs of rice, he could sell 850 kgs of rice. We have taken example previously that he has sold 850 kgs of rice. So how much he is left out with? He is left out with 100 kgs of rice. He is left out with how many kgs of rice? He is left out with 100 kgs of rice. This value is called, this units is called as closing stock. Based on this value, the closing stock will be valued. The value of the closing stock will be valued. What is the stock that is left out? 100 units or 100 kgs of rice. 100 kgs of rice is called as units of unsold stock. So how do you arrive at the value? While 100 kgs into, to find out the total value of the consignment stock, we will multiply this 100 kgs into the price at which the consignor has sent to the consignee. At what rate he has sent to the consignee? He has sent at the rate of 80 rupees. And for this he will add the proportionate non-recurring expenses of both consignor and consignee. What are these non-recurring expenses? We have already understood. What are non-recurring expenses? Non-recurring expenses are those occur only one time. They are one-time expenses. So we need to add proportionate non-recurring expenses of both the consignor and consignee. We will take the proportionate non-recurring expenses of consignor and consignee. We will add to the value of the stock that is left out with the consignee. This is the process of valuation of consignment stock. And the next concept we have to learn here is loss of goods. What is this loss of goods? Here in our example, we have taken 1000 kgs of rice is sent and 5 kgs of rice has been lost due to spillage. Even after taking utmost care, sometimes we cannot reduce that loss. For suppose if I am transporting rice bags or if I am transporting sugar bags, if I am transporting oil, even after utmost care, some loss will be there. Such loss is called as normal loss. Such loss is called as normal loss. The loss due to natural phenomena of the product, phenomena of the product, that is called as the normal loss. In our example, what is the normal loss? 5 units is the normal loss. And because of the negligence, if the loss occurs, that is because of the negligence either of the consignor or because of the transport agency or because of any other party who is involved in the consignment, if the loss occurs because of that, then such loss is called as abnormal loss. Such loss is called as abnormal loss. The loss incurred due to natural property of the good, then it is called as normal loss. If the loss occurs due to the negligence of any of the parties during the consignment, then it is called as abnormal loss. So this is the concept of normal loss and abnormal loss. Next, let us how do we account for this normal loss and abnormal loss? How do we account? In case of normal loss, we do not show it separately. We do not show separately the amount of normal loss. In case of normal loss, we will adjust that amount to the remaining units. See here, 1000 units are sold, 5 units are lost. So totally how many are there? 995 units. While calculating closing stock, for suppose if 1000 rupees expenses are met for 1000 units, we will adjust this 1000 rupees for only 995 kgs of rice. That is called as apportionment. That process is called as apportionment. So while calculating normal loss will not be shown separately in the books of accounts. It is adjusted to the closing stock. And I have given the formula that total value of goods consigned. How do you calculate the normal loss? total value of the goods consigned, or here total value of the goods consigned is, here we have, what is the total value that is left out in the consignment stock? 100 units at the rate of 80, that is 8,000 rupees. That is the total value. And how do you take proportionate units? How many units are there here? 995 units are there. So, for how many units are left over as a stock? 100 units. Understand? This is called as apportionment. Apportionment means whatever the expenses, whatever the goods are there, that value will be apportioned to the remaining stock after deducting the normal loss in units. The next concept we have is abnormal loss. Abnormal loss, as we understood from our example, that if the loss is occurred due to the negligence of any of the parties, then it is called as abnormal loss. Abnormal loss calculation is a bit similar to that of consignment stock calculation. We have understood how to calculate consignment stock. How do we calculate consignment stock? Value of the stock left out, you have to add proportionate non-recurring expenses of consignor and consignee. But here you need to remember 2 points. There are 2 points of difference that we need to consider, or that we need to remember before calculating abnormal loss. What are that? What is the difference between calculation of consignment stock and abnormal loss is that in consignment stock we will take only non-recurring expenses, whereas while calculation of abnormal loss I will take all the expenses. But sometimes I will take the expenses of consignee, sometimes I will not take the expenses of consignee. Why I will not take means, for suppose goods have started from X and they are traveling towards Y. If the goods are stuck in between and some 45 goods are lost in transit and only 950 goods reached Y, 1000 goods have started from X, out of them 5 goods have lost in normal loss and 45 goods have lost in abnormal loss and 950 goods only reached the consignee. When only 950 goods reached the consignee, he did not bear the expenses for this 45 units. So, at that time when the loss occurs before reaching the consignee, we will not consider the expenses of consignee while calculating the abnormal loss. This point need to be remembered. What you need to remember? Consignee expenses will be taken sometimes, sometimes you will not take consignee expenses. When do you take consignee expenses? When the goods reaches the consignee, and then if the abnormal loss occurs, then you add the expenses of consignee also. But before reaching the consignee, if the goods are lost, then you will not consider the expenses of consignee. This point you need to remember. It is similar to calculation of consignment stock. In the next concept, we have understood what are the various aspects or various concepts that are related to consignment. Let us once recollect all those things and how the sequence of transactions takes place. Let us understand. So, the first transaction here is, we have understood the goods are sent by the consignor to the consignee, and the next thing is pro forma invoice is sent by consignor to the consignee. We are clear that in pro forma invoice 4 things need to be mentioned. What are they? Name of the consignor, date on which consignment is sent, details of the consignee, and also the details of the goods sent. And the next statement, important statement, is account sales. Account sales is prepared by consignee. Consignee, what he will incorporate in account sales? He will incorporate what are the expenses met by him and what is the commission he need to receive, and if any loss has been incurred, that loss, all those things will be incorporated in account sales. And the next one is calculation of abnormal loss, if any. In our example, 45 units are abnormal loss. So, we need to calculate the value of abnormal loss. And next, calculation of consignment stock. While calculating consignment stock, we will adjust the normal loss also. And next, finding out the profit, and again we will plan for a new consignment, and the process goes on. These are the sequence of transactions. First, goods will be sent from consignor to consignee. Pro forma invoice is sent along with that. After receiving the goods, he will do all the process of sales and all. During that process, what are the expenses incurred and what is the commission he is supposed to receive, all that he will incorporate in account sales, and he will find out the abnormal loss if any, and consignment stock he will calculate, and he will find out profit. Who will find out profit? The profit will be calculated by the consignor. After sending the account sales, abnormal loss will be calculated by the consignor, as well as consignment stock will be calculated by the consignor, and he will also find out or arrive at what is the profit that he have got during this process of consignment. Again, he will send a new consignment. Again, the circle goes like this. So, let us understand now. Now, we will move to the accounts part. So, what are the accounts that are maintained in this process? Let us understand. As we understood from our previous slides that there will be two parties in the consignment. One is consignor and other party is called as consignee. Consignor is called as the relationship between consignor and consignee will be principal and agent relationship. Here, what are the accounts that are maintained by the consignor? The accounts maintained by the consignor are consignment account, goods sent on consignment account, goods sent on consignment account, and consignee account. These are the three accounts maintained by consignor, and consignee maintains only one account, that is consignor account. Understand? So, these are the accounts that are maintained by consignor and consignee. And next, we will understand what are the details of these accounts. Here, first when we come for consignment account, as we all know that there are three types of accounts. What are they? Personal account, real account, and nominal account. We have three types of accounts: personal account, real account, and nominal account. These are the golden rules of accounting. Here, we have debit and credit. We have debit and credit. Personal account, debit the receiver, credit the giver. Personal account, debit the receiver, credit the giver. Real account, debit what comes in and credit what goes out. And nominal account, debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. Based on these principles, let us understand in detail about these accounts. Once coming to consignment account, here this account is a nominal account. Consignment account is a nominal account. What is the rule of nominal account? Debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. So, what is the purpose of preparation of this account? The purpose of preparing this account is to know profit or loss that is derived because of the consignment. The purpose of consignment account is to find out profit or loss, whether I got profit or loss in the consignment. That is the purpose of preparing consignment account. And the next account is goods sent on consignment. Here we can see, you can easily understand goods is there in this. That means it is a real account. Goods sent on consignment is a real account. What is the purpose of this goods sent on consignment account? It helps to know what is the balance of stock that is left out with the consignee. To know the balance of stock, how much stock is sent to the consignee will be known by the goods sent on consignment account. And the third account you have is consignee account. This consignee is a person, so it comes under which account? Yes, it comes under personal account. What is the rule of personal account? Debit the receiver and credit the giver. Debit the receiver and credit the giver. Because consignee is a person, whenever he receives we will debit him, whenever he gives we will credit him. So, what is the purpose of this account? The purpose of consignee account is to know how much he is due to consignor. How much his amount is due by the consignor to the consignee. The purpose of this account is how much amount is due by the consignee to the consignor. that will be known with the help of this account. So basically we will prepare these 3 accounts in the books of consignor, and consignor account will be prepared in the books of consignee. So let us understand the accounting treatment now. So let us understand what are the journal entries that we will post in case of consignment. So while seeing the journal entries, let us also understand how you prepare the ledgers. So we have 3 main accounts: consignment account, consignee account, and goods sent on consignment account. These are the 3 accounts that we need to prepare. See the slide. What is the first entry? So you remember the sequence of transaction. What is the first transaction? Goods sent on consignment. What is the journal entry for goods sent on consignment? Consignment account at R2, goods sent on consignment account. See, here we are maintaining 2 accounts, consignment account and goods sent on consignment account. We understood that consignment account is a nominal account. So when I am sending goods to the consignee, it is an expenditure. So I have to debit consignment account. That's why consignment account is shown on the debit side. Goods is a real account. Goods are going out. Because goods are going out, I need to credit goods sent on consignment account. So if I put it in the ledger, how it will come? Consignment account at R2, goods sent on consignment account. Again, where do we write? We are also preparing goods sent on consignment account. So it comes opposite. That comes here by consignment account. Clear? And the next, this is the first transaction. The first transaction we will write for goods sent on consignment. After sending the goods, expenses will be borne by the consignor. So what will be the entry for the expenses borne by the consignor? The expenses borne by the consignor. For the consignment, it is an expenditure. That's why as a result, as a rule of nominal account, you need to show the expenses on the debit side and incomes on the credit side. Being it is an expenditure, you will show it on the debit side. Okay. So I will write here as to bank account. Why bank is written here? Bank is which type of account? It is a personal account. Debit the receiver, credit the giver. So the amount is going out from the bank. Bank is giving the amount. That's why we are showing bank on the credit side, consignment on the debit side. So entry will be consignment account at R2, bank account. As we are not preparing bank account, I am only showing the account in consignment account. So we have understood how to post, how to write, what is the transaction for the goods sent on consignment, and what is the transaction for expenses met by the consignor. And the next one is, sometimes consignee will pay some advance to the consignor. So an advance is coming. Consignor is receiving the amount. That's why bank account will be shown on the debit side and consignee account will be shown on the credit side. Consignee is the giver. Because consignee is giving the amount, consignee is the giver. So we are showing him on the credit side. Here, what are the accounts that we are maintaining here? We are not writing bank account. So I am not writing bank account. In consignee account, which side it will appear? Yes, it will appear on the credit side. So I will write it as bank or bills receivable. Why I am writing bills receivable? Whenever the consignee gives the advance to the consignor, he may give using 2 ways. One in terms of cash or in terms of a bill of exchange. So he can receive in terms of cash or he can also receive in terms of bill of exchange. That's why if it is received in terms of bank, we will write it as bank account. If it is received in terms of bills receivable, we will write it as bills receivable. So when advance is received, the entry will be, yes, bank account or bills receivable account at R2, consignee account. And the next transaction would be for the sales made by the consignee. Whenever the sales are made by the consignee, consignee is receiving amount. Yes, for consignment it is an income. Because it is an income to the consignment, I am showing the consignment account on the credit side. because consignee is receiving, we are showing consignee account on the debit side. In our ledgers, we are maintaining both consignee account and consignment account. So, in consignee account, I will show it as to consignment account, and in consignment account, I will show it as by consignee account. This is for the sales made by the consignee. And the next one is for the expenses met by the consignee. Whether it is an expenses or whether it is commission, the entry will be the same, because if the consignor is paying in terms of expense or in terms of commission or in terms of a bad debt, anything that accounts as a expenditure on the consignment. We know that expenditures should be shown on the debit side. Who is taking that expenditure right now? Who is spending that expenditure? It is spent by the consignee. So, consignee is the giver. That's why in all these cases, we will credit consignee account and we will debit consignment account. Consignment account is shown on the debit side because it is an expenditure for the consignment. Consignee account will be shown on the credit side because consignee is paying that amount right now. He is the giver. So, here when we are showing it in the ledger, consignment account debtor to consignee account. We will credit consignee account for expenses, for commission, and also for any bad debts, if any, if del credere commission is not paid. Understand? So, these are the things. For these things, we will show consignee on the credit side and consignment on the debit side. Again, where we will write all these transactions? On the credit side of consignee account. We will write it as by consignment account. Here we can write this transaction for the expenses, for the commission, or for the bad debts. For all these things, we will show we will credit the consignee account. And the next transaction is for the abnormal loss. If there is an abnormal loss, we will write this transaction. If an abnormal loss is not there, we will not write this transaction. So, for the abnormal loss account to be debited, consignment account to be credited. Okay. So, in consignment account, where it will come? It will come on the credit side. So, by consignment account, because I am not preparing the abnormal loss account, I am not writing. So, here consignment account, by abnormal loss. Understand? Abnormal loss will be shown on the debit side consignment will be credited. The next one is for the stock valued. The next transaction is for the stock valued. So, what is the stock value? Whenever the stock is left out, that is an income to the consignor. That is the income that is left out with the consignor. So, we have to credit the consignment account. So, consignment account should be shown on the credit side. Stock is there with me. Stock is a real account that is coming in. This is there with me. That's why I have to show consignment stock on the debit side and consignment account on the credit side. So, where I will show this? So, I will show this on the consignment stock account. Clear with this? Next, let us go for the next transaction. After all, why are we doing all these things? Only for the sake of profit. So, the profit on consignment will be shown on this side. So, consignment, the profit is transferred. Whatever the profit. When do we call it as profit? When my credit side, that is whenever my income side is more, I will show it as, whenever my income side is more, I will show it as profit. Whenever my expenditure side is more, it will be loss. So, if my incomes are more and expenses are less, I will earn profit. If my expenses are more and incomes are less, I will write profit and loss account this side. Okay. Next, sometimes we understood that the goods can be sent either for cost price or for the invoice price. If the goods are sent for the cost price, then you will have these transactions in regular. If the goods are sent at invoice price, then you will have two more entries. What are the two more entries? The next entry will be goods sent on, here we have included what we understood, that is whenever there is loading, that will have impact on two things. What are the two things? Goods sent on consignment and consignment stock. That is, here we have shown excess amount and also here we have shown excess amount. Whatever the amount that I have written excess, I have to show it on the opposite side to cancel the effect of increase. So this process is called as adjusting loading. This is, I will adjust here. Understand? For the purpose of adjusting, what I will write? Goods sent on consignment. To adjust that, I will show this account on the credit side and I will show this account on this consignment stock on the debit side. While I am writing, instead of writing as consignment stock, I will write as consignment stock reserve. Clear? So, these are the two entries that we write in case if at all we are sending the goods on invoice price. Whenever the goods are sent on invoice price, here we have to see that the loading, the effect of loading will be on two things, goods sent on consignment and closing stock. So, wherever the loading effect is there, we have to cancel the effect. Goods sent on consignment, I have shown it on the debit side. To cancel, I have to put it on the credit side. Whereas consignment stock, I have shown it on the credit side. To cancel that, I have shown it on the debit side. So, let us see how these accounts will look. See, whatever the accounts that we have prepared on the board, we can see here, see in the slide. So, this is how the consignment account will appear in the books of accounts. Those entries we have written here previously. So, goods sent on consignment, bank account, expenses of the consignee, commission and consignment stock reserve. Those, if you prepare it in a proper way, it will be looked like this. And this is the format of consignee account and goods sent on consignment account. The balance of consignment account will be transferred to profit and loss account, general profit and loss account, whereas the balance of consignee account is the, if the balance is there in consignee account, he will either send a bank draft or he will maintain it as a balance. Next, goods sent on consignment account. These are the three accounts that we maintain. So, hope you all understood and you have some rough idea about what is consignment, what are the differences between consignment and sale, what are the sequence of transactions in the process of consignment and what are the accounting procedures to be followed and what are the accounts maintained in consignment. Let us have some assignment so that we can understand, we can assess what is the level of our understanding. So, here I am giving you three small assignments which you can do very easily. The first one is you draw a flow chart showing the steps involved in consignment process. I have shown you sequence of transactions in a flow chart. As in a circular path, I have shown you the same thing. What you have understood, you write it in your terms. You have to show it in a form of a flow chart. So, you draw a flow chart showing the steps involved in consignment process and you try to jot down what are the accounts involved in the consignment. We have written different entries. In all the entries, we have used various accounts. You try to identify what are the accounts, what are the type of accounts they belong to which type of account it belong to, whether it is a personal account, real account or nominal account. And the third one that I have given you is you need to identify few companies which run on consignment basis. For this, I can give you some clue. Here we have, all of us we know about Amazon, eBay. So, these are the online corporate companies which work on the principle of consignment. Do you think that Amazon will produce all the things, is going to produce all these products? No, not definitely. Amazon is not producing all these things. It is purchasing from the sellers and it is selling to the person who require it. So, I hope you understood the concept and try to do all these assignments to know or to understand your level of understanding. Thank you for this.